Today I think I'm doing something very special, man. Something I've been chasing for quite a while. I'm sitting across a very inspirational man who's doing quite a lot of work in the space of fatherhood, in the space of motivating my brothers, man. I think kind of like myself, but I think I'll put Lereko a little bit up there because we've been at it a little bit longer, man. But welcome to the show, my brother, man.
Thanks, KG. Thanks for having us here, man. Really a pleasure. I've seen your work over the past few months. Stellar stuff, man.
Yeah, man.
Honestly, yeah.
I appreciate it, man.
Sure.
You know, you've been saying quite a few things before we switched on while we were plugging up, man. And you speak with such inspiration, man. And I'm like, hey, man, Lereko, because of the work you do, did that kind of create this person, or did you just find yourself being in this and that's how you ended up going that direction?
Hey, man, I've had multiple, so to say, careers. You know, so currently I'm working for Heartlines, coordinating the Fathers Matter project. But before that, I was a script writer for Isibai. I don't know if you used to watch Isibai.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I used to be a writer on Isibai. Then before that, I was doing a lot of theater plays, performing and writing them. So I've done a lot of artistry, you know. But then before that, I grew up in a good family, you know, family. Sure. So I've had to try and walk a disciplined, positive life. You know, I've always known from a young age that God is going to steer me in some form of influential direction, you know, not for my own benefit, but for the benefit of society and serving. So part of my values is really serving, and when you're thrust in that position, you're having to feed yourself good stuff all the time because you're giving, you know, and sometimes the responsibility of people who serve is to you yourself be served as much as possible, you know. So I've got structures in my life like the church and my family that keep me sort of in the positive direction, and that's what I try to give off, you know. But obviously, some days are here, some days are here. Life is not always one smile, you know. But meeting someone like you also draws it out sometimes. So when I got here and you opened up and it just like people like you draw out that part of our life out. So it's also kudos to the kind of person that you are. We've met for the first time, but I see the journey that you've had, and yeah, man, it's good stuff. You know, it's always good to meet people like you. Yeah.
Bless you, man.
Sure.
You talk about, I did the program, the Fathers Matter program, and I found it quite interesting. And you talk about the father story and knowing your father's story, or understanding it, you know, at least, not even knowing your father, but at least you know about him. So there's a story behind you.
Sure.
If I can put it in those terms. And on one of our episodes with Hakeem Anderson, actually, he said, well, even if your dad is not around anymore, you know, go to his grave and, you know, still have conversation with him, you know, just to satisfy your heart or whatever it is. So, you know, what is a father story, man, in terms of what you talk about at Fathers Matters and Heartlines? Yeah.
So I always like to start with the personal, man, you know, with making it real. For me, my whole story with my father is that the whole story of it is that I had, and I'm saying I had, but I also have, you know, I had a dad who was present, grew up with a family, mom, dad, married, 3 siblings. I'm one of them, last born.
Yeah.
And that was our story until I was 11 years old. And when I was 11 years old, my dad left to go work in the UK. And then the story changed, you know, for that season. Because from 0 to 11, those formative, important years, by the way, my dad was there. 11 till later in life, including now, my dad was working in the UK, so we'd come home periodically. I saw a dramatic change and a dramatic shift in our family from 11 years old, man.
Yeah.
I saw how our family dynamic changed. We no longer sat together. We no longer spent time together as a family. My dad was gone. It was challenging. It was challenging to have the best of both, to have this interesting background story beginning. And I mean, I have great memories of sleeping on my dad's chest when I had asthma. I grew up with bronchitis. My dad used to take us to holiday once a year to Durban. So I grew up in the Val, take us to holiday. My dad used to teach us the Bible, used to teach us about bullying. My dad was a former amateur boxer.
Oh, man.
So he taught us how to hold your fist and how to protect your chin. Here's your chin, and you gotta have your right hand protecting your chin, and you gotta have your hand to jab, push the bully away. So I had all these rich stories that we grew up with him, and not only that, but my grandfather, my dad's dad, grew up with us. So my paternal side of the family, they were with us. So I had two dads, man, two moms. My grandfather had stories. Imagine, he was born in 1929.
Sure.
So he knew South Africa. He knew all these historical eras. He knew colonial South Africa. He knew post-colonial South Africa that then got into apartheid South Africa and post-apartheid South Africa. So he knew all those eras of South Africa, and he gave that to us. He gave the rich history of South African identity. So my dad's story then, when he left and he's leaving in a time of my life, I'm becoming a teenager, I've got questions now, now I'm seeing what it means to join gangs and to be accepted, because the father figure is not there at home. So that's to say, in summary, it was important for me to know that entire story and the effect that it had on him, so that by the time I sat down with my dad to explain, where were you? We started out so great. And when you left, we started facing challenges in the home, in my own life as a young man growing up. Where were you? So I guess it's important to know your father's story and the impact it has on your life. Because there are questions that you need to ask for yourself as a young man, dreaming, hoping to become this, hoping to become that. So with Fathers Matter, part of our other project with Heartlines is What's Your Story? It's knowing your story. And all different chapters of it, the good and the bad.
Sure.
So that as you're hoping to become this wholesome man, you understand the darker chapters of your life, and you understand the role that your father and his father's father and the lineage of your dads, how it's the role that it has played in the kind of father or man you want to become today.
Wow, man. Yeah. That is wild, man. Because I think about it, and my circle, there's a handful of us with fathers, man. And even those relationships are not even that great. You never hear the guy talking about,
Sure.
or like, something so deep and you just want to laugh about it. Or it's like, oh, wow, dude. Like, we want to hear more of this, right? And when I look at cousins or other people, relatives that I kind of went to families and I saw how they interacted with their dads, I was like, wow, this is, I didn't feel jealous or anything, but I was inspired by that, right? That, okay, wow, this is what I'm missing. But at the same time, I'm in that circle, so I'm also kind of getting the same kind of attention and the stories and that. So I think sometimes I think Neo Mabileta said it, that you might say that I don't have a father, I don't grow up with a father, but there are people within, your space that also speak into your life, sort of what your dad would do.
Beyond your biological father, there are men who've come into your life, mentors and pastors and coaches, and they've brought in that father voice, because it's important, and it's so unfortunate that we do not uphold the father's voice and the father influence in a child's life, male or female. It's such an important voice, but we've gone without it for so many decades that we've accepted that it's okay not to have any fatherly or male influence in your life. Oh, lady thing, my aunts are there. I've turned out to be fine. Look at all these guys who are successful. They never had dads in their life. They turned out to be fine. But actually, no, that fatherly voice is important. Nothing can replace it. I don't care how good your mom is. And we've got spectacular moms, man. My mom was one of them. I've seen moms step up in a way that men haven't. But I don't, like unfortunately, they were not designed to fulfill that voice. It only belongs to a man, to a father, and it's unfortunate that we do not pay respect to that, as a society.
Man, we need to bring the fathers back, man,
We do.
And there's something interesting I also learned is you don't have to actually have your own kids to father someone, right?
No.
Or even in a situation where a father and a son are talking, that exchange is actually happening, and in a certain instance, the son could father the dad into something, open your eyes to something that you actually never really learned, that I might have picked up from a different family or whatever. Interesting, one of the podcasts that I listen to is Out of Menderness. And this guy talks about, with my son, I prefer other men to also speak to him because I want to see how he responds to other men, how they speak into his life. And maybe I might tell him something and he'll be like, dad is always complaining. What's about my time?
Yeah.
And then, okay, wow, man. Shit, dude, listen, man. This is how we do it, dad. And then now I'm like, oh, okay, it's a new lens that I never really looked through. So I appreciate those words, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
And now there's a cause to that, right? Why fathers are not at home or whatever, whether it's relationship issues. I know the big one is finances. Funny, I had a haircut this morning and this guy was telling me, hey, Fana, it's me, man. And he's complaining. And I'm thinking about this. I'm like, oh man, I'm going to go talk about this now.
Yeah.
And it's like, once again, it's money, man. What is it about this money situation?
My brother, Zach, it's so with Fathers Matter, the project, 2-3 years back, it started with a question, why fathers matter,
Sure.
And that's a question that our CEO Garth Jaffet had, and a group of men had. Why do fathers matter? And went into a year-long research, because. Man, this whole thing, our deadbeat dads, man, I guess they are there, they are there. But is it truly that men are cursed, that men are not involved in their kids' life? Is it that men are just inherently deadbeat dads? Is it that they're just uninterested? Or is there more to it,
Sure.
So I guess I'm going to the subject of finances. One of the first, and we call them barriers, to presence is finances. And we found that it not only is it the number one reason, it's the number 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the reason why men are not involved in their kids' life. We have a quote in our research. Lady was asked this question, why is your father, the father of the kids, not in their lives? And she said, if this guy is not bringing in money, I don't have money to feed another child.
What?
You understand?
Yeah.
So in other words, this guy would be another child in the home because he's not working. So it's a huge problem. It's reflected by our unemployment rates, really. We have crazy unemployment rates. And what does that mean for the father? Historically, not only in our culture, in every culture across the world, men are seen as providers. You have kids, that's your role. Your role is to provide. And so if you are unable to provide, then you're deemed unnecessary in a family. You're just another mouth to provide. And it's so unfortunate, but just the world that we live in, men ought to be providers. But in Africa, in South Africa, it's an issue because there are benefits and we can get into them. Men are the assumption is true that we ought to provide, but we ought to be able to provide beyond finances. There's the other side of provision, and that's what we don't talk about. That if a man can't provide financially, what are the areas that he can provide in? And that's the conversation we never have. But unemployment is not helping fathers across the country. And it's linked to a lot of barriers. So for instance, you and I know what intlaulo is and things like damages. You impregnate someone, and there's this word called damage has been actually challenged, across the years. But you impregnate someone and you ought to pay intlaulo or damages. But that's also linked to finances. So if this guy is 21 years old, this young man is 21 years old, straight from high school, Haspani, he's got a girl, gets her impregnated, then if this boy is unable to pay that fee, intlaulo, he will never see the child again. So it's a problem. And then again, lobola, it's another question of lobola as well. If you have kids with this woman, you're unable to pay lobola, the family have a right to keep her and the kids away from you. So it's important financial conversations that we need to have. But beyond that, we need to be able to go past that. Lobola, intlaulo, if you talk to historical people, cultural experts, they'll tell you those institutions were not created, those policies were not created to separate the man from his kids. They were created actually to pull the family together, and actually it wasn't a monetary exchange historically. So, so it's important for us to change our perception of men with regards to that, because it's not good for a man to believe that I can't be there because I don't have money. because there's more I can provide beyond that.
And man, those consequences are dire, man. When you're thinking, or hey, man, I can't provide, I can't do this.
No, it's tough. I mean, my story, I'll give you a quick story. So when I got married, we fell pregnant immediately, and I was not working. My wife was the one working. And when I found out she fell pregnant, man, it got me into hysteria, man. I was like, oh my goodness, how am I going to be able to pay nappies, to get nappies? Luckily, we were married, so that bond was intact. There was no possibility of us being separated or the kids. But man, it got me into a depression, man. You know, the idea of how am I going to provide for my child? Where am I going to go? Who am I going to turn to? And man, because of how secluded we are, I was having that conversation alone in my own head. And man, the kind of toxicity that I was going through, and you even go as far as going, I shouldn't have married. Should I allow her to go free to get another guy who can provide? So you know how we are as men.
And your mind is just gonna keep feeding that
keeps
monster,
feeding.
You know?
And so when the child was here, it was a blessing, but still that anxiety was still there, you know, and that became, in many ways, it blocked me from connecting properly. With my daughter in the way that I would have wished. There was deep connection, but when you're not able to provide, it gets you anxious, and it gets you like, I need to hustle, I need to get the money, I need to get nappies, so you're unable to really fruitfully enjoy your child, you know, when you have those issues happening. And that's not only with me, it's with majority of men, you know, and some of them choose to separate themselves for those reasons. Some of them are separated. The woman's family or her, get away from us. We're not going to make this happen. If you can't provide, if you don't have money, then we don't need you in our lives. So it's a South African story of fatherhood that is not told, you know. And so a lot of kids go around, and the mom will tell you that he's a deadbeat dad, but actually there are reasons behind why he was not around.
Wow, man. And you know, when you say that, it's to me, it's just stories now. I'm pretty sure any person, any guy listening to this has heard these stories, you know, on more than one occasion, right? And even the guys that do have the finances, it's just that, it's a new life, man. It's a change to your lifestyle and those kind of things and all of that. But I mean, you speak of benefits of, how you can show up without finances, right? There are different things. I mean, you can, I don't know, coach your son's soccer team. You can take him to soccer. You can do something that's also being supportive. But I mean, that's my lens. What are you training with Fathers Matters when it comes to that?
It's important for men to know that they are meant to father beyond anything, and that's just it's important. If we don't understand that from inside, that this is what I'm meant to do, then all these barriers are going to play a part in you being ostracized from fathering, you know. So I like to talk about the biology of fatherhood before I get into benefits, because if we don't know intrinsically that we're supposed to be there, then none of these other things are going to matter, you know. So I like to talk about the biology of fatherhood, and I hope fathers who are listening, or young men who are listening, or men in general are listening, will gain a new perception or perspective around the subject. So here's the science. Let me give you the science. Sure.
I'm waiting for this one.
Let me give you the science, KG. So here's the science, man. Fascinating stuff. In the 1970s, what you call attachment theory. Do you know what attachment theory is?
Attachment theory? Not really.
Let me break it down. So attachment theory is really around the study of the attachment or bonding between mother and infant. You know, this whole thing, breastfeeding increases this. This is when a child is born and you put it on so it's attachment theory. It's really the study of the bonding on attachment between a newborn baby and parent. Up until the 1970s, attachment theory, all of the literature reviews, literature journals, studies, PhDs were just between mother and child, not father and child. There was nothing around fatherhood with attachment theory. So this idea that biologically men are meant to be there when a child is born, there was nothing around. And there's a guy called Michael Lamb. He did, I think his master's dissertation or something in UKZN, but went on to do his PhD at Cambridge University.
Yeah.
So Michael Lamb comes out, man, out of the woods in the 1970s, really at the peak of attachment theory, where mothers, there's all these workshops. You need to do this when your child is born, and men are not included in that conversation because why men are supposed to provide. Michael Lamb comes out of the woods and looks at it. It's like, man, could there be some form of science around fatherhood? This idea that men, beyond putting in the seed, that men are necessary for children, for themselves, but for the child himself. So Michael Lamb pioneers attachment theory for fathers, and he looks at the biology of men, and he finds that when a child is born, man, these are studies, when a child is born, oxytocin, oxytocin, they call it the love hormone.
Yeah.
That when a child is born and a father is there holding the child, oxytocin dramatically increases in the body.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In the male body.
Okay.
Oxytocin shoots up, and they call it the love hormone. So it happened with me. I didn't know that it was oxytocin. When my child was born and I held her in my arms, Ayana, she's 4 now. Man, I kid you not, I felt a surge of love through my body. I couldn't explain it. You're shaking and you're looking at your child, and that's called oxytocin. It's the love hormone. It's this hormone when you're in love with someone, when you've just climaxed, you're pursuing a woman. It's the bonding chemical. And when you're looking at your child, it triggers in your body. Attachment theory said only women is possible, but they found that men have oxytocin when they have that, So shoots up surge of love, energy through the body, and you're holding onto your baby, and you don't want to let go. You want to just be there and hold your baby for the rest of their lives. That's oxytocin. It's a chemical that is also in the male body. And this is what happens. Oxytocin comes surging through your body, and what happens? The next hormone is testosterone. As oxytocin is surging through your body and you're feeling so much love and bonding with your child, testosterone decreases. So the aggressive inducing hormone decreases. So why does testosterone decrease? Because this is how God designed us. Because as you want to bond with your child, the male aggression, the male mood swings have to go down in order for you to nurture the child, you understand? So that you're not ready to go do life, you're ready to just nurture the baby. So testosterone has to decrease in order for you to be able to bond, in order for you to have even qualities like patience. Because a baby needs a lot of patience. Those things are not natural to us as men. But God designed us so much that He gave us the biology to do that in that time. Only in that time. Outside of that time, those things disappear. Oxytocin disappears, testosterone. But in that time, they found that testosterone decreases so that you are able to be patient and to be there with your child and to be able to change your nappies, to be able to feel like, because it's a feeling thing, to be able to feel like doing that. And then the crazy one is the third one, prolactin. So prolactin, if you don't know prolactin, easily it's the hormone behind breast milk. So without prolactin, a woman will never be able to secrete breast milk. It's the breast milk hormone. We have it as well, man, as men.
Wow.
And
so all of these theories about men can breast, that's actually real.
So let me tone it down. So prolactin doesn't produce breast milk in men.
Okay.
But they found a few cases where it does, but so small that it's not a talking point. What prolactin, the hormone, does for women, it gives them breast milk. For us, it gives us the ability to want to bond with your child. So if you look at the physicality of a woman breastfeeding her child, it's that bond, it's that connection, it's her looking into the eyes of a child. So with prolactin, what it does, they made a study, they found that when a child is crying, prolactin is activated in the men, and you are able to hear your child from whichever direction they're crying to be able to go.
Wow.
So your sensitivity for your child as a man dramatically increases through prolactin. Again, it's activated when you actually spend time with your child. If you don't, if you're watching UFC TV, if you're out with the boys, prolactin never is activated, never increases. So these, all three, oxytocin, decrease in testosterone, increase of prolactin, all of these are activated when the child is born and the father is presently there. So God is giving us a message that scientifically you were meant to be there for your child as a man. And so this is only in the 1970s. It took a man, women never were interested in this. It took a man, Michael Lamb, from Zambia, did his stuff in UKZN, went to Cambridge, and found that there's a science behind the need for men to be there in the lives of their children. And then there are ample benefits for the child, man, when the child grows up with a father, discipline. They found that when, even in the womb, the child is able to respond easier to the tone of a father than to a mother. So that has implications of discipline. When you look at the high rates of prison incarceration being prisoners who grew up without a dad. In the US, it's up to 90% or something like that. So man, there are increased benefits for both. But there's a science behind this, and people don't know about it, and we need to talk about it. When a father is about to be a dad, they need to know about this, that those first 1,000 days, and in Heartlines we call them the first 1,000 days, if a father is there for the first 1,000 days, they are likely to be there for the rest of the child's life. And it's because there are all these beautiful benefits that male feel. And then also, like, Mike, I have questions about this biology, man, because then it has implications for our mental health as men that, oh my goodness, as I spend time with my family, it increases my mental health, my happiness, joy. As I'm there to help them with the bicycle, there to feed them, there to do homework with them. There are all these increased benefits biologically that men feel. But we don't talk about it because a man is supposed to provide. You understand what I'm saying? So these are some of the things that men provide in the family. I don't know if you've watched this film by Will Smith when he's playing King Richard. It's called King Richard, and he's playing Serena and Venus Williams' father.
I don't know if I watched the whole movie, but I think I tried. Yeah.
So Richard Williams. This is sort of the summary of the film. Richard Williams, before these kids are born, writes a 70-page book on what he's going to do to ensure these two girls are going to become the best tennis players in history. So he writes that book. They are born. Through him, his initiative, the kid Venus becomes the best player in tennis. Serena becomes the best tennis players in history. And they found that it's the ability of the father to be able to be listened to, the father to be able to instill discipline. The affirmation of a father, there's nothing like the affirmation of a father. When your father pats you on your back and releases you and blesses you to be able to do your work in the world, there's nothing that can replace that, on a scientific level, just the tone, the presence. So there's so many provisional tools, man, that we're missing out on. Because we're focused on areas that are unnecessary, that do not make sense. But men, a father is powerful, man. Father is powerful.
I mean, that science that you speak of now, I'm just listening to that. I'm like, I want to be a dad tomorrow, bro. I'm ready to pop one in the oven, right?
KG, man, when I held my daughter, and this is just how messed up the world is, man. We didn't have money. So my wife had to go to a government hospital. And this is how messed up it is. In government hospitals, fathers are not allowed to go into the delivery ward. So they kick you out at the entrance of the hospital. And you literally say, and this is my wife. It's not my girlfriend, it's my wife. I'm saying goodbye to her, and up until the point she disappears, I don't know what happens to her till the baby arrives. So I don't know if she's in distress. I don't know if, some complications are going to happen. I don't know any of that. I'll find out when the child is here how the procedure went. So I wasn't able to walk my wife into the delivery ward. I had to wait. Then this is the crazier part of the story. I was calling the hospital every minute up until a point where they said, okay, just give us her name. Dimpo. Where is she? We'll find out for you. Because I was like, I'm not going to be that guy who just wonders what happens to her. I'm going to find out, and I'm going to pester them until I get answers. So I called until they told me, no, your baby has arrived, your wife is doing well. And then I said, I'm coming to see my baby. They said, sir, it's not allowed. You know what I had to do, KG, man? Government hospital, I had to bribe to see my child.
Are you serious?
When she was born. I had to bribe. I had to take out money out of my pocket, whichever cents I had, to bribe the nurse to go to the delivery ward. I was the only man there. The nurses looked at me like they were looking at E.T. or something. I had to bribe my way into holding my daughter, man. That was so painful, man. I was like, I don't deserve this. That's my, whether I'm her husband or not, no father deserves that experience, man, where you have to pay money to see your child. But that's how much fatherhood has been relegated to in the country, that you're unnecessary in that. So that's the message there, is that I'm not needed there when my child is born. There's no difference that I will make, and you're a dad, you're just worthless.
Sure.
You know, so I had to bribe my way into so when I held that baby, man, I forgot everything, man. That oxytocin was surging through my body like electricity, man. So I'll tell this to dads who are about to become dads, but also to young men, because more than anything, man, that will keep you there, you know, the responsibility, the choice of staying, but they need to know biologically you were created as much as the mom to nurture your child. Yeah.
And we should nurture, man. I mean, I don't understand why it's like, and that's where it ends, or they'll just buy you this and that's that. But I've seen, you know, somewhat of a change as well. I think there's like a new generation of men who are trying to be there, you know, as much as there's also a growing trend of guys who don't want to even be fathers at all. But I've seen quite a lot of change. I speak mostly to guys that I play soccer with, you know.
Sure.
But guys, you know, it's a Sunday, we just played, and then it's like, man, let's have some beers. And some guys will be like, hey, man, I have to go see my kids, you know. And it's a beautiful thing that maybe from my stance, because I don't have any, it's like, we are IoT. Like, you never want to chill with the boys, you know. So I love seeing that. And the science that you broke down now, I'm really hoping that whoever hears that, you know, and if you're planning on doing something with your lady, or maybe you guys are considering having kids, or you're planning on getting married, you know, maybe look into these theories and, you know, familiarize yourself with it a little bit. Speak to maybe your dad about it, and people in your family, see if they know about it, right? And how that's affected their relationships.
For sure, yeah. And it's again, it's another barrier. I was telling you about the barriers that we found through our research, that man, this narrative that men just don't want to be there, it's false. You know, one of the barriers is the knowledge gap. We call it knowledge gap. We don't know what to do when we have kids, you know, on a practical level. We don't know what to do. I was chatting to a good friend of mine in Italy, Federico. And he's an Italian man who got married to a Xhosa woman from South Africa. They're raising 2 boys in Italy. And when the kids were just in their formative years, he decided to quit his job because he was worried that, man, the kids are growing up and I'm not there to see it because I'm chasing this 9 to 5. So he decided to quit his job in Italy to raise his 2 kids, man, you know, and he found that that's the best decision he's ever made, because now the kid is an author now. They've co-written a book with a 6 or 7-year-old boy. He wants to be a chef. They've gone through all these huge restaurants, chefs. He's got relationship with chefs. He's found the gifts for these kids. They've co-founded gifts for them. He's nurturing these kids in the direction that they want to go. And he's creating a legacy of memories that they will never forget, man. And so it's gratifying for him, but also for the kids, because part of your role as a dad is to inspire those gifts, you know, inside your children. And my question, again, the question that I asked to you, we need to stop normalizing father absence. And so we need to start going, man, how did you make it without a father? We need to start asking those questions. Man, that's crazy. How did you make it without a dad? Because we shouldn't be making it without fathers, man. We are powerful.
It's hard without a father.
We are powerful, man. There's something that we give. There's something that is intrinsically only us, away from women. And so we need to get to that place where it's unacceptable, you know, whether on a biological level or on a father figure level. We need to start asking each other, man, I see you got 3-4 kids, beautiful, your family's tight, but are you fathering other kids without dads, you know? Are you mentoring someone? Are you speaking into someone's life? It needs to be part of our culture now to father even those outside of our tight-knit families. We need to have a culture of fatherhood that we call out of each other, you know? It needs to become a culture, because we shouldn't be making it without dads, man.
No, not any longer, man.
We shouldn't accept it.
Sure.
Amongst ourselves, we shouldn't accept it. And if culturally, if the media, if they're accepting it, then that's their business, you know. But we shouldn't be accepting it. Then one more thing is people are hurt, man, because of father absence, and you can see it through men are trash. You can see it through what's happening. In many ways it's justified, but we shouldn't accept the results of anger.
Yeah.
So when a hurt woman says screw men, we need to be able to understand where she's coming from. So be empathetic, but not accept that. You know, because when you're saying screw men, screw fathers, then you're saying screw a part of who we are that we need.
Yeah.
And your hurt can't determine my agency in someone's life. You know what I'm saying? And we have a lot of that going on, and we need to push back against that, man.
I love this, man. And, you know, you speak of fathering others and also rectifying this whole thing. You know, there's just Ramit.
Sure,
you know, that is like a language that I'd also speak to Nkini, who's also like, but we move. You know, just move on, right? We'll be fine. I think that's very bad language. And I don't think anyone's really actually sat with someone who doesn't have a dad and actually asked them, like, so how do you decide on this thing? You know, something as simple as making a decision without a dad can be so hard for you because you don't have that presence, right? Or that guidance to say, no, you know, when you're faced with this thing, there's these ways to look at it.
There's no reference.
There's no way, man. You know, and you have 10 friends who tell you 10 different references, and it's like, but what am I gonna do with that? So I love that, man. And I recently had a very special moment that actually touched my heart. So I've got 2 nephews, I've got a niece, I've got other extended family, but my nephews are like closest to me, man. I love them to death. And my nephew wished me a happy Father's Day, you know.
Wow.
And man, you know what that meant, man. I held that thing and I was like, what?
Yeah.
Dude, what do you mean, man? Like, you know? So he touched my soul in like a very special way.
You've been there for him, man. You know, and he's recognizing that, you know. It's so special, man. I mean, I've got a 4-year-old and got socks and a little makeshift tie she created with paper. Men want to be dads, man. You know, this notion that it's not interesting to us. We just want to bang, bang, bang and leave. We want to be dads, man. But stuff happen, you know, and also that's why it's so important. And you were talking about mental health earlier. It's so important for us to commit to being healthy, you know, because when you're not healthy, you act outside of who you are. You know, essential to every man is a desire to protect family, a desire to honor women, a desire to be influential. And when you see a man acting outside of that, that's not who he is, man. If you were to sit down with that guy who's got whatever, who's a womanizer, you'll find that at the heart of him is a desire to live differently, but they haven't committed. Life happened and fatherlessness happened and hurt. And you end up acting out of your brokenness, you know, and acting outside of yourself. But man, I haven't met a guy, I suppose 1 or 2, but generally men want to be good, man. They want to be present. They want to honor, and they want to be upright and be present for those special moments. And we see that culture. I see the media not really looking at it, but there's a very strong father presence culture that is happening. You know, with fathers taking their kids out. Fathers going to football games, fathers helping out in the house with chores, helping out with nappies,
cooking, all of that.
You know. And I had man, if a lot of guys, if we say all of these guys were raised by moms, you know, grew up in matriarchal communities, man, didn't your mom teach you how to wash clothes? So this idea that we're looking for a woman who can cook, we can do those things, man. Can't you iron, man?
I do my own thing.
You do your own thing.
I do my own thing.
So where's this thing coming from that men don't? A lot of us, a lot of us do dishes, man. A lot of us know how to. Man, I've got a friend of mine who can iron the heck out of a shirt more than women that I've seen before. You know what I mean? And again, it's testament to the mothers that we had, you know, who didn't see all these gender stereotypes. It was like, hey,
I appreciate that, man. That's actually a very good point that you make. I always say, my mom raised me with my grandmother. I've never heard any bad talk about men in my family. I don't hear my mom talking about, hey, what, or my grandmother like, yeah, your father did this. When I asked about my dad, they just like, oh, but you know his house. That's where I'm like, oh, so Mamelodi, oh, okay. No, then it makes sense why they love me so much, right? So I think this thing, Yauri, we don't have a dad and we're lacking. We need a woman to do everything for us, and we're forcing them to do that because we never saw our dads.
Mothers didn't raise us like that.
No, guys, let's not lie, man.
Let's not moms were smart enough to teach you these things. Let's honor the single moms, historically who were there and taught you values, Yes, they were not able to father you, but they were able to teach you basic things about life. They were able to impart some important things, So there's a disconnect somehow in how we're having these conversations, My wife met me intact, Yes, I'm not the neatest guy on earth as she is. Yes, I'm disorganized. But man, I can iron, I can do stuff, It's not like I married her because of those things, of the fact that she can cook
or something.
Oh man, I can I can cook, you know what I mean? Man. She does it because she loves to, and that's also another thing is people demonizing each other. If your wife wants to cook for you, let her, but now we demonize women now who are at home and there are a lot of women who are deciding to be stay-at-home women as well, and to raise their kids and to support their husbands. Now that's an evil thing to do nowadays, man. If a woman decides to be at home for the benefit of raising kids and supporting the husband, then that's a demonized thing to do. But
why? No, you must have your own thing. No.
So again, man, it's a weird time we're living in. In many ways, we're having to rethink the past, and not everything worked in the past. Yes, there was a time where things were imbalanced, but heck, man, a lot of things worked as well, and we need to find a way of having both conversations, at the same time.
I love that. So the other thing now that I want to touch on is, there's this idea or this concept of a father wound, right?
Sure.
And I think I must have read it like quite a while ago while I was doing research for this is, they say it doesn't matter how old you are when you grow up without a father, you're always going to look for that father figure, right? You're always going to look for some kind of person to speak whatever into your life. So like a father wound then to me would indicate that, hey man, I always carry that, like, I don't have it, it's not there. Like, no matter who I talk to, I just can't heal this thing. But what is a father wound, man? And what are some of the, maybe key things that we can take or steps to, like, address that and, like, just calm yourself down, man? I mean, maybe not in that language, but it's not that bad. If you actually look around, you've had fathers around you, So your wound, it is there. But, man, just look around, bro. They can put a Band-Aid on that thing and actually see that, oh, wow. There is actually quite a lot of fathers, the figures, like you say, father figures, mentors, the Jordan Petersons of this world who are raising, kids from like all over, right? Who felt like, I've carried this wound, but maybe now because there's this guy telling me all of these things that I never heard or learned, now I feel like, okay, this is not much of a wound, right? But I mean, what is that, man, in your experience and working with the men?
So there's an organization in America called the National Fatherhood Institution, I think the NFI, something like that. And their former director was a guy called Roland Warren.
Yes.
So Roland Warren was popular for the saying, we all have a hole in our soul, the shape of our father. And when that hole is unfulfilled, it stays like that. That's a gaping hole. That's a father wound that only a father can fulfill, We often like to say with Fathers Matter, if you were to ask society at large, do mothers matter? Everybody would raise their hands. But if you were to ask, do fathers matter? You'll find some people not really raising their hands. Or you'll find some people letting out expletives, because fatherhood is such a touchy subject. But that's the proof that, man, there's that father wound that exists, you know. So fatherhood is really that. There's a role that a father ought to play in your life, and when he's not there, it leaves that wound there, and that's the wound. Those are affirmations that you need only from your dad.
Sure.
They found that affirmation itself is different from a mom as it is from a dad. You know, and more power lies with the affirmation from a dad. In the same way that nurturing is different from a mother and a dad, and mothers are better at nurturing than fathers do. It doesn't mean one shouldn't be nurturing. Both should be nurturing, but there's just things that we're all differently skilled at, you know. So words of affirmation, when a father affirms you and he puts his identity inside of you, like, so for instance, if you look at our culture of gangs, that's the chemistry of gangs is simple. If you don't have acceptance and belonging, you're going to look for a tribe. We're all tribesmen at the heart of it. That's what we are. We are tribesmen. And one way or another, you're looking for your tribe from the day you are born. So when a father is in the house, he's the one who instills that tribe inside. So you become fully intact, fully affirmed. You are, is your name Klaba?
Habian.
You are Habian. That's your tribe now. And your dad instilled it from a young age. You're part of this gang called Habiani, and this is how we operate, and this is our history, and this is what you're here to do in this world. My tribe is Mfono, and my dad instills that I'm part of this gang. And so gangs, that's the chemistry of gangs. Belonging, acceptance, you'll find it in a gang. If you have it at an earlier age in your family structure, headed by a very strong father, you'll never look for gangs. Many of us who were fathered well never sought gangs. You know, there was just no need for that. Because the need is there, but it's just that it was fulfilled. You know what I mean? So we're all tribesmen. You're looking for a tribe, and more often than not, you'll find the wrong one, depending on the size of the wound. If the wound is there to start off with. So it needs to be fulfilled, and you'll find ways to fulfill it. But only a father can give you that blessing and can hold you on the shoulder and say, this is who you are. And once you've formulated an identity of who you are from your dad, man, you're done, man. You're going to dominate in the world. That's why you find a lot of, when a father is present, and with Fathers Matter, we say the active presence of a father in a child's life, because it's possible to have a father but have him inactive. In the home.
Just in there.
And we also say active and positive presence, because it's possible to have a father but have him negative and always putting you down. You know those dads? I did have a dad in the home, but he was always bringing me down. We're now talking about next. We're not trying to You know what I mean? So we say the positive and active presence of fathers in the lives of their children. That's what we're promoting. So the father wound is really something that men need to know, that more often than not, if you didn't have a dad growing up, you have it. I'm sorry. That's just the reality of it, is that you have it, and you need to do something about it, and not wait for the world to answer that question for you, because it will lead you to the wrong tribe. Now, uncles are there. Uncles need to be aware. If you're an uncle of a son or a daughter who grew up without a father, you have the perfect opportunity to father that kid. So that he finds his tribe. You know what I mean? If pastors have played this role really, really well, where they're able to spot that father wounds in the church, men who grew up without dads, and able to step in and call the identity inside of you and say, this is who you are. Coaches, father figures, social fathers, they're able to come in and fulfill that hole. So that hole, man, is about having a present figure in your life who loves you, who affirms you, who takes pride in you, and releases you to go and dominate and to be the person that you're supposed to be. You know, so the false lie is that actually I'll be fine. No, you're not going to be fine.
You're not going to be fine.
You're not going to be fine.
You need to deal with that.
You need fatherhood in your life. You need it, and we can debate and we can disagree about this, but you need it, and we need to say it. You need it. You know, you need it. You need it. You need a dad in your life. Whether biological or not, you need fatherhood in your life, and we need to resolve it that way. I need this, and I need to fulfill that. So that's a father wound. You have a hole in your soul, the shape of your father. So that's why it's so important. You find male figures. Jerome Fukeng found his dad at 45. I might be wrong.
Wow.
I hope I'm not quoted at this, but I think he found his dad at 45 years old. It took him 45 years of searching to get to his dad.
And he was searching, because you don't stop.
No.
Don't stop.
But also you need to be searching. I need to have this answer, And that's also, fatherhood is one of those questions that men actually need, and you find them doing ridiculous things at different periods of their lives because that hole is crying out, for that. So it's so important to know about the fatherhood and to do something about it amongst the community of men, fathers, and sometimes also mothers are able to see it. Man, throughout my family, I've had so many lovely aunts who were able to actually initiate that coming together of child and father to say, hey, as great a mother as I am, there are certain things that I can't give him or her. So I'm gonna get the father. Hey, please, this guy's wilding out. My daughter is wilding out. Can we just get this together so that the relationship happens? So kudos to moms as well who are aware of it and aware that I've done my best, but my best is not enough. This thing is made up of two parents or a parent and a father figure. And so some moms also are very good at identifying men who can be there for their child. Sometimes the dad is dead, right?
And there's no...
you can't find your biological dad, but they're very great at getting their kids into tribes made of good men, because sometimes men is a hit and miss, sometimes men are not intact, and it's dangerous to put your child in the hands of such a man. So making sure that those father figures are intact and throw your child into them, and it'll help, man.
Yo, man, I'm enjoying this, man, and we're at the tail end of it now, but every year, around May, June, you'll see fathers, and then it kind of declines a little bit, right? But I loved just the whole, how media portrayed fatherhood now, this time around. And maybe because I'm also entrenched in the work and I'm trying, to find different things. Like you said, I'm seeing so many movements, man. It's amazing to see. It's even grassroots, it's guys without big funding or anything, or just a bunch of friends getting together and saying, hey guys, let's take our kids wherever, For example, our guy Melusi, he's done some amazing stuff as
beautiful
well.
Work, man.
And not just for him. He sees, hey man, I've got kids here. Where am I gonna take them? It's not just for me, but fathers around as well. So there's just a big network, and there's a support for guys out there that I'm seeing personally. But what did you see, man, in this Father's Day that stood out to you?
Yeah, man. Maybe also I could segue into some of the film project that we're doing if there's time for that. So, the Fatherhood Month is important, but I kind of have the same stance as Morgan Freeman has with Black History Month in America, which is that we're going to take 1 month to dedicate to dads.
Yep.
And the rest of the year, we're going to forget about them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's enough, and I don't know if we should see it as enough. So the appreciation in me says it's great that it's there in the first place. So I don't want to sound like I complain too much. It's brilliant, the gifts and the attention and around it. And this year was somewhat a bit more positive than previous years. There's this thing that I hope I don't sound like a hater. That used to irritate me, where people put up pictures of their moms, Father's Day there, I hope I don't sound too harsh. I didn't like that, because moms can't be dads, it's just something that cannot happen. And man, I hope throughout this podcast I've explained my appreciation for women and mothers in general. It's sincere, but they can't be dads, and we shouldn't relegate them to that. It's too much. They've done their part. They're doing their part. It's time for men to step up. So they used to this thing, Father's Day, my mom, happy Father's Day, you're the only father I've had. But this year I didn't see a lot of that. I saw a good sort of positive mood around dads. And the question is, post that, what happens? How do we continue the conversation? You part of this is that, man. We need a lot of this. We need a lot of men out there who are bold to talk about men.
Yeah.
And it does take a bold step to take. So platforms like yourself are doing a great job. Heartlines, Fathers Matter, go to our website. There's a lot of resources in our website, fathersmatter.org.za. We have also a new video conversational platform called Fathers Matter. Not Fathers Matter, Fathers Only, but on the Fathers Matter platform, where we talk to fathers and try to talk about finances and some of these barriers and questions and resources that men can find. But on the website, tips, we were talking about when a child is born, what do you do as a father? We've gone down the rabbit hole. We have some of these answers. Also, we don't have the answer to fatherhood as a whole, but we are intrigued by it and we're finding solutions. So go to our website to check a lot of resources and share them with, if you are not a physical dad yourself, like you are a dad to your cousins, your dad to your nephews, get them, extract them and share them out. Check Fathers Only podcast. We're talking to dads only there. And then excitedly, can I talk about the films, that we're in development?
I know. Plus that's on the way, actually. That's on the way, right?
That's on the way. Yeah. So man, I'm so excited about this. For the first time in our nation, we are looking at a national conversation on fatherhood, through these 6 films. So there are 6 short films that we're developing that will be on SABC. I'm going to say if you don't know SABC, but it's impossible. SABC is a South African broadcasting, the biggest South African broadcasting network. 8 million households. That's the reach of SABC. 8 million households. We're going to be on SABC2 prime time on a Sunday from the 17th of September with the Fathers Matter anthology of films. So one short film every Saturday, 8:30 p.m. Then there will be a repeat show during the week. 8:30 p.m. on a Sunday, 17th September, we're kickstarting the films. The films were written through research. I told you we had a year-long research. They were informed by our values, Heartlines, Center of Values Promotion. We looked at 3 values that inform the films: responsibility, presence, empathy. Because
that's a big one there.
And empathy, we're saying, yes, fatherhood, there's been a crisis, but there's reasons why, and let's be empathetic. Also being empathetic to women who've played their part. So and then within those 3 values, we developed 8 messages or 8 themes. I'll give you a few of them. All of these themes play into the films. There are discussion points in the films. So one of the themes is a father's responsibility is more than providing money. You understand? One of the themes is women can play an active role in including fathers in the lives of their children. Sometimes women play the role of being a gatekeeper. You understand? And so we talk about that. It's an important conversation to have. When men and women clash and don't see eye to eye, kids shouldn't suffer. You understand? So your baby mama shouldn't be keeping you away from your kids. You understand? So we talk about in the film. Then we talk about, there's shared attachment and value when men and women both cooperate, work together in the rearing of children. And then we talk about social institutions like the church. The church has a role to play in being social fathers to children. So those are a few of just the 8 themes that we delve into the film, but they are all around the question, the dramatic question that is the thrust of the films is, do fathers matter in the lives of children? Every one of those 6 films, that's the central question. Do fathers matter in the lives of children? And so every film tackles that. So we've got 6 standing films. Should I go through them quickly?
Yeah. You know what I actually want to do? So we can go through them. But I think because they're so detailed, I wanna propose it right now, bro. And I'm gonna catch you right now so we know we got it or not. I wanna do a series on that.
Okay.
Right? Then we can extrapolate each one proper in detail. But you can give us the highlights.
I've given you enough 6 films. Values, presence, empathy, responsibility. We've got 8 themes all around the presence of fathers and the importance that fathers play in the role of their children. I'll take you up on that offer.
Man.
Can come back and talk extensively about them.
Let's do this.
Let's do this.